The anterior pituitary gland is hooked up to the master gland, and many of the hormones it produces come from this area. Some people call the hypothalamus the king gland. Some people call it the master gland. You might read it in different books called different things, but basically the hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland what to do. So I kind of think about the hypothalamus being the master gland or the king, and the pituitary glands, anterior and posterior, being controlled by it. So kind of like whatever they want, the king wants or the master gland wants, they do. Hormones that release are going to be called trophic hormones, and these are going to go ahead and go to the rest of the body. Trophic hormone is another way of saying amino acid hormones. These are usually the ones that like water. So the ones that we'll talk about soon in another video are going to be thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH is another name for it. Follicle stimulating hormone, you might have heard of it as FSH. Luteinizing hormone, or LH. Prolactin, growth hormone, or GH. And you can kind of see which hormones come from this. We only gave a small list, but we'll talk about what each of these do. Probably a quick peek this semester, but this chapter, but in the upcoming chapters, we'll sort of dissect them and go over them a little more. So one of them is going to be called growth hormone, or somatotrophin is another name for growth hormone. And what it does is it directly affects metabolism. It increases fat catabolism or breakdown, and it also helps raise blood sugar levels, decreases glucose intake, increases glycogen breakdown. Glycogen is fat. And remember how fat, if we break it down, will eventually become glucose. So we can increase glycogen breakdown to release glucose, or we can build glucose into fat. We can increase amino acid uptake into cells using this pathway. And indirect effects means these are effects because of it, is growth hormone stimulates this thing called insulin-like growth factor, or IGFs. And there's this huge research on IGFs that we're only going to just touch, but there's a lot of stuff that go in here. And really what it's going to do is uptake nutrients and blood into the cells. It's going to help with protein and DNA for cell division, hence the name growth factors, regulate growth hormone release. It does a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll talk about this way more in the future, but growth hormone does go ahead and affect things like cartilage growth, blood growth, even tissue repair. You are currently probably not growing anymore, but what you are doing is you're going ahead and repairing cells constantly. And those repairs are happening at night when you sleep. You ripped some tissue because of workout, you're going to fix it. You broke a little bit of bone with these stress hormones, with these stress moves. The growth hormone is going to fix that for you. So recently, the USDA has approved growth hormone and some other hormones to inject into animals. The other one is going to be called this thing called PRO, or prolactin, and it's used for the obvious reasons. You'll see that when you give an animal prolactin, you'll see that they'll produce tons more milk than without it, and you'll be able to see that milk production will increase and other things. The health of the animal will be repaired, so you can kind of stress it more. Growth hormone is important for maintaining body composition. It's also for maintaining muscle mass and bone mass. If you make too much of it, you get tall. If you make too little of it, you're going to stay small. And we'll talk about the other hormones in class.